Good morning and welcome to another episode of the 4x3 podcast. I do believe this is episode number 9 on the list, and we have a special treat. The roosters are going off all morning, and I'm not sure if it's because I'm out here and they have detected some sort of danger, but they're bouncing off of each other's vibes, and now I have to listen to the entire orchestra. Alright. Time to breathe in that cold air. And I believe we are in the minuses at the moment. I live pretty much in the desert, and we get some sort of hot and some sort of cold. A balanced mix of weather. And I think recently it has felt a bit like spring, even though it's winter, and we have a few more months of winter if we are in fact just about in August. So August, September, there's about a couple of months. Now for us, I think October is usually when the season transitions pretty much in the correct manner. And I shot off into the sun recently to pick up a new camera. The old one, the old 4K camera that I did have, which I still wish was in operation. That one I sent into a repair shop, and the quote was $3,500 to fix. And it seemed a little bit cheaper to just purchase a camera if I'm not going a new one, if I'm just going to basically dick around with it and not make anything too great in the meantime. And after receiving the camera back without repair, I ended up looking into the costs myself, and the parts are just too expensive. Anyways, so I left and got on the early morning bus, headed off to my folks' house, stayed there for a night, and shot off to Melbourne, which I picked up a Blackmagic cinema camera 2.5K. Oh yes, a downgrade from the 4K that I did have recently. All in all, it doesn't matter too much, because once it goes on YouTube, anything that goes on YouTube for me, it's unlikely that anybody or most people are going to hit that 4K button to view something that I'm doing at the skate park. However, if I do create some sort of cinematic film at some point, which I'm sure I'm going to anyway, then I don't think anyone's going to do that. And I picked up it's an older camera, it's about 12 years old. It's something I've wanted for a long time, and something that has been affordable since the day I wanted it. And now I've picked it up, I am prepared to use it and build on it. So this becomes the base plate for a big camera build, much like a DSLR. And with that, I will end up over time purchasing things such as a cage for it, a few more lenses, a proper or a better external battery pack system, with all the rails and a focus pull, and just all the things to turn into a bit more of a professional feeling camera, I suppose. And and my ND filter packs, and I'll need some lighting kits and things like that. And then once I have all the lenses, then if I do grab another camera body, then I'll be able to swap and go from each different cameras. But I haven't really been much into cinematic anything. I've more been interested in documentary style video making and just dicking around and enjoying the different types of cameras. And I haven't really done that much, to be honest, but it's fun to just have things like that. Oh, it's a chilly blast. Oh my god. Oh, it was quite an interesting little weekend with my family. I guess it wasn't really a weekend, it was more like a day. So when I got on the bus, that travel alone was very long, so I left at like 5 in the morning and travel along, and then you end up in another town, which I don't think I needed to get off. No, I didn't need to get off that. So it was just one straight shot to my family's town. So that's about, it takes about 5 hours. The bus travel is a little bit different because they have to stop and then start and wait around and all sorts of things. Where a drive would take 4.5 hours, it might take 5 to 5.5 hours. So all in all, if I left at 5, I didn't get there till 11 in the morning. So it's like 6 hours really, with all the dicking around. And then I hung out at their place for a little bit, tiny little beach town. I didn't really do that much. Oh, actually I went to, the first place I went to when they picked me up was I went to Cash Converters to look for a camera first. Cash Converters being this discount store for the poor, but it's not really a discount store, it's rather a place where they give out loans, or you trade in your anything that you own, and then effectively they only give you 10% for it, and then you're paying something off over that period of time. It's ridiculous, but you can snatch a deal being on the other end. Anyways, I went there. They always have some fun things, and here's the catch. You get ripped off if you're trying to go in and pawn off an item and receive a cash loan for it. But on the other end, if the person who's being ripped off has already paid off an item, or it's been too long and the product is sitting there on the shelves not being sold, you can actually ask for a discount, and a lot of times you'll get, well, it won't be a dramatic discount, but it'll be a better deal. I've done this with Switch games, and I've done this with a laptop. So I went in there and looked for a laptop. It was about, it might have been like $3.99 or something, and they took $100 off, so it eventually came out to $2.99. And with that was a good deal for me, simply because this was a laptop for gaming, and I use it for video editing basically, and I wasn't willing to pay a huge amount of money to purchase something brand new, and it gets me by and I'm happy. Now if my solar setup at home was able to run a desktop computer, then we are talking endless possibilities, because I can mix and match with any machine, and I don't need the latest and greatest desktop computer or anything like that. But as with desktop computers, they require a lot of power at the bare minimum, and once you start adding graphics cards and your memory and all your different types of components, yeah, the power consumption is rather high. Now, so I went into cash converters. I didn't really find anything other than maybe like a really small Sony, whatever it is, don't know what they call it, DSLR, or maybe they're called cinema cameras, I don't know. And then we left and went to a new junk recycle centre. And I haven't visited this town in a very long time, so it was very brief. It was alright. And so this junk place is like a market, and if anyone knows, it's similar to the Milne Market, which is basically, usually it's independent stall holders who aren't present there, but it's a lot of vintage stuff that's lying in different sections. But this junk place was sort of like a giant op shop, or a giant antique store, split into different sections. So one section had a bunch of furniture, another section had electronics, cameras, TV units, another section had old bicycles, new bicycles, or whatever bicycles that were sitting there, DVDs, tools, hardware, and even has a coffee shop. And this stuff is just old stuff that people probably had in their shed, and now this vintage store is making money off of it. Whatever. And then you move on to the Milne Market, which is very similar, but more of a structured foundation, a well-organized, almost vintage store, where this is the stall holders, independent stores, but they aren't present. And what I mean by this is there's small cube sections which has little stores essentially. Little cube store. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. But anyway, for example, there would be a section with Pokemon cards or different types of trading cards and comic magazines and old PS2 games and old console games. In like one section someone might have something like that, and then another section might have a bunch of jewellery and different sort of knickknacks, and another section might have clothes, vintage clothing. Another section might have vintage technology or electronics, like old radios and old camcorders and old DSLRs, or SLRs rather. And another section might have old cans and old signs, road signs, and things you'd hang up on walls, and the list goes on. But those stall holders aren't present, but their stuff is held there, and when they make any sort of money, there would be some sort of percentage to the vintage store, which operates the store, and then obviously the people would go back there to collect their funds that they made from the store. It's an interesting concept, and these are usually in big warehouses. You could spend quite some time pretty much hanging out and looking at different type of knickknacks that you don't need because they put it in there when they didn't need it. Well, whatever. Again, this one has a coffee shop, which is, I believe, not a recent idea, but within the last 10 to 5 years, I guess. And that was sort of fun to look around there for old VHS cameras and knickknacks and things like that. And I do believe that the Blackmagic camera that I have just purchased, I can record in 4:3, so if I wanted to film anything old, but I didn't want it to look too old, yeah, I could do something like that. But anyway, so we ended up heading back to their place and just hanging out for a bit. And they have these bicycles, and one I used to ride down to the shops. That was a bit of fun. It reminds me of the days that I used to live at their house, and I had an older BMX, and I used to ride around the beach town streets and go the back way to get to the shop and just ride around, and it would be fun, little hangout session, nice and quiet by yourself and trying to figure out how to get around on the road and then on the path and then on the road again. It's quite scary actually being on the road, and the immediate thought I had when I got on the bike was I need these little rear view mirrors because I drive a vehicle, a car, and I'm constantly looking in those little side mirrors. So my first thought was looking in a side mirror, but I'm constantly looking over my shoulder, and it's a chilling feeling knowing that you could be run over. I did that briefly. I was going to go out again that evening, but I just decided to just chill out at the house, not really do much. And then the next day we left, and they drove me all the way through to Melbourne, southeast. It's a weird experience because that's like one of like 5 times, or I don't know, however many times that I've really been in the car with them, and they've actually taken me all the way through to Melbourne. And I did all this adventure in one single day. So we went and picked up the camera, and then we shot off to Southern Cross, which is in Melbourne, and I believe that would be like the first time I've ever gone to Southern Cross in the car with them. I believe in a car. Well, it's probably a lie, but I don't know. I've never been tempted to actually drive through that. It's a weird thought to me. I mean, I might give it a go at some point. But they did that with utter ease that I was just amazed, and makes me feel like I could probably do that myself. Yes, that was interesting. And then we went and hung out at the station for a little bit, and then all in the same day I came home. So left at 7 in the morning and got home at about 5 in the evening or 6 in the evening. And that was a very long and stressful day. Well, not stressful at all, really. Just very... It goes so quickly. And it feels so weird how your time is taken when you try to do something all in the one day. And I don't mean working at a job where you're sitting there all day. I mean trying to travel in one spot and then move around and then move around and then move around and then move around and do a bunch of stuff and do a bunch of stuff and do a bunch of stuff, and then after you've done a bunch of stuff you just leave and go home, and then it just disappears before your eyes, and it's just like, what did I just do? I've done that a few times in my life, and oh boy, is it tiring. Oh, it's very tiring. And I did that on a Saturday, so you can imagine I thought it was Monday the next day, which it wasn't. It was Sunday. Oh God. And now I'm back, and now I'm looking for little bits and pieces for this camera, because the internal battery, I think, it's not too great, and being a camera that's like 12 years old, it's no good. And with normal DSLRs and normal cameras, there's usually a battery that you actually put internally, like you can eject it and put it back in yourself. But with this, I believe there's like a plug and play system of 2 lithium batteries that are just sitting inside of the camera. To me it's an odd system, but I don't know if like the more high-end cinema cameras operate that way, whereby there's just like a sort of like a life support battery where you have to have an external battery to actually operate it and keep it functioning, and keep that battery alive. I don't know if it works in that manner. I'm not too familiar with that idea. But anyway, that's sort of what I've got at the moment. And I have a few ideas to film, and again, that always involves me being in it. Fucking hell. But I think I'm going to get out there soon enough and actually try and make something. If not, I might just jump off a bloody bridge and call it a day. Not to take that seriously, but anyway. Oh, and when I got home, I went out again and purchased a bike, which is very similar to my parents' bike. And I have taken it out for a ride a few times. Again, I always have this issue where the seat is always uncomfortable, and I'm not too sure whether or not getting a new seat will actually make a difference. I'm not too aware of how that works, or whether or not the comfort is based on the proportions of the bicycle. When I rode my dad's bike, that felt comfortable all the way through the ride and all the way back, whereas this bike that I just purchased, sort of like uncomfortable from the get-go. So I don't know. The wheel size is the same as his, but the frame size, I'm not too sure. It's sort of like getting on a bike that's a little bit taller than you are, and you're trying to reef yourself up there. Oh no, it's odd. Anyway, brand new day, a Tuesday morning. What do we got? We're about 6:05 in the morning. And so far with this health goal thing, I am maintaining my weight. I need to get back onto trying to lose the kilograms off my body. I check my weight daily, and some people say don't do that, but I do it for a reason, because if my weight happens to go over a certain amount than the day before, then I know that I have to kick it into gear the next day, and I need to make sure that I do not go over that weight ever again, or again really. And I've got to go to the toilet now, and I'm out of here. Goodbye.